Welcome back to the program. U.S. President Donald Trump signed a wide-reaching executive order on Monday directing drug makers to lower the prices of their medicines to align with what other countries pay. And analysts and legal experts have said this would be extraordinarily difficult to implement. The order gives drug maker price targets in the next 30 days and will take further action to lower prices if those companies do not make significant progress towards those goals. It is very important for us to equalize prices for Americans in comparison with other foreign nations. I don't know if this executive order will do it, but it is a great first step on behalf of this president. Joining me now to discuss is board-certified physician and author of Never Let Them See You Sweat, How Science Can Help Us Harness Stress for Success, Dr. Leigh Vinocur. Thank you so much, Dr. Vinocur, for coming on.
Thank you for having me, Stacy. I appreciate it.
So can you just start off? What do you think of the EO, and do you think it will actually lower drug prices?
Well, I think it is a wonderful, necessary step, to tell you the truth, because back in 2003, it was Congress that actually approved, as we developed Medicare Part D, a prescription drug plan for Medicare that said Medicare could not negotiate drug prices with the pharmaceutical companies, nor could any private insurer that was going to cover Medicare Part D. So it's sorely needed. And in his first administration, he started working on tackling drug prices. It is very difficult, as you said. And this new executive order gives about 30 days for the Secretary of HSS to try and establish these targets. And if not, they will invoke this most favored nation status, which, as you described, allows us to negotiate and lower prices according to other countries, right? We know Canada pays a lot less for their pharmaceuticals. So,
yeah, it's a big deal because people actually already use mail order pharmacy in Canada to avoid the higher priced drugs here. But that doesn't work if you're using an insurance company to access a drug. The formulary lists the drugs that you're allowed to have the insurance company pay for. These are what we'll pay for. They will not pay for your drug that is sourced from Canada, so you have to pay for that out of pocket. Sometimes the savings is worth it, but on something like an infusion drug, let's take something like Remicade, that's $12,000 a month through United Healthcare. You're not going to get around that by going to Canada. You can go to Janssen and get that reduced, right? But they reduce the cost of the drug, but not the home infusion, which most people who are infused do not go to infusion centers. They're infused at home, at least under United Healthcare, largest health insurer. So there's a lot more to this than just, going into an Excel spreadsheet and lowering numbers. It's a complex mix of how people access the drugs and who's helping them to pay for them.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right on target there. I mean, there was just a news recently that CVS Caremark was only going to carry one of the obesity drugs now, and they're just cutting it out. So any person that gets insurance and gets it covered because they have an obesity problem, they're pre-diabetic and they really need to lose weight. Now they don't even have a choice, even if their doctor says you should take the Zepbound as opposed to Wegovy. So these pharmacy benefit managers that are part of these programs too. There are so many layers in healthcare that make it unmanageable and difficult for doctors and patients alike to navigate it. So it is an important executive order, and we really need to get in line with other nations like Canada. And I also think, Stacy, this is sort of a messaging and warning, too, that we shouldn't privatize Medicare, because these big companies, they're beholden to their shareholders and bottom line, not the American public, not the American patient. So it's something that we really need to consider going forward.
So, that's a big debate, whether or not to privatize Medicare. And let's face it, we have people who advocate for single payer. I used to be someone who, I would say we can't have single payer, right? Look at Great Britain, look at Canada. In Canada, you can wait 9 months to get a CT. I happen to know from personal experience that if your doctor orders a CT and you have to wait 9 months to get it, you could die in between that time if the problem is what the doctor suspects. So there's a lot more to single payer, just, oh, we're going to have single payer for 340 million people. I don't actually believe single payer is workable in our country because of the size and scope of our medical system and how many people we have. But I think we need a better system. We need an expansion of individualized plans that you can go in with. Let's say all doctors have their own plan, or doctors in a certain region can approach, United Healthcare and create a group and make a plan. There's so much more to this. I don't even know that we're scratching the very surface of the conversation, but at least President Trump's executive order opens us up for a little more conversation on it.
Yeah, I think, pharmaceuticals are a big impediment and a big cost for healthcare today. But as you said, I've seen many patients with private insurance and a CT's ordered or an MRI, which is more expensive. And there's huge delays and appeals that are required. So, we have those issues here in America today, right now. And pharmaceutical companies, insurers, all the layers that are involved in healthcare, patients, doctors have been taken away from their patients. It used to be a doctor, a patient, you made the decision. Now there's like 20 people and 10 administrators in between us and our patients. And that's what makes healthcare so complicated. But certainly nobody could argue that lowering drug costs in the United States is such a critical issue. And we should pay what other countries are paying. We should have never prohibited Medicare from negotiating those prices.
I'm so in agreement with you. And I love the fact that, I only deal from anecdotal experience, my own and my family, but you're dealing with thousands of patients over the course of your career. And you're right. It used to be much easier. I would go to the doctor. My doctor would order a test. My insurance would pay for that test. And I would pay my copay or my deductible. And that was it. Now it takes forever. And that is detrimental to actually healing people. And doctors want to heal their patients. So we got to figure this thing out. I think it's really important for doctors like yourself to take time out of your busy schedule, seeing patients, to talk to the news and to share your information. You can follow Dr. Vinocur on X, actually Instagram. It's Dr. Leigh Vinocur. You can find that in the show notes over at Stacy on the right. Thank you so much, Dr. Vinocur, for coming on.
Thank you for having me, Stacy.
It's good to talk to you.